Hey y'all, it's Coach K, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Life Lessons. This week, we're talking all about surrendering and accepting the new perspective that you've chosen. Last week, we talked about the difference between a world perspective and a kingdom perspective. And I know that for some of us, that would have been a crazy decision to make, and then for others, that may have been an easy shift or transition to make. But this week, I really thought that it would be important for us to discuss the portion that's required, which is surrendering to whatever your decision was and accepting what comes with that decision, right? So I know a lot of times we struggle with change or shifting because that means that other things that we kind of like doing and things that we, have grown accustomed to have to shift a little bit too. And that's not always comfortable. It's not always fun. It's not always what we want to do. If I'm being honest, it's not always what we want to do, but it's what's necessary, right? So when it comes to you making this decision, you're going to have to get to a point where you surrender what you think it needs to look like. You have to surrender to the process and to God and let Him show you and change your whole mindset around what's happening. Because if you don't submit yourself to the process, if you don't submit yourself to God, you're going to find yourself frustrated, very, 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 very frustrated. And you're going to find yourself in a space where you're battling with yourself all the time. You're battling with who you used to be. You're like standing in the middle, just like a tug of war, trying to figure out, do you want to continue to be the person you were before, or do I want to move forward and become this new person that God has called me to become? So the first step that I want to talk about is surrendering. All right. So it's going to be, you know, real important that we do self-audits and that we self-reflect. I feel like I say that every video, but it's like that's a reoccurring step that's going to happen often because you want to make sure that you are able to identify your patterns, able to identify where things have changed and what impact they've had on your life. So this week, I want to really encourage you to take a look at your life. I want you to think about the perspective that you are operating from and then kind of jot down how your life was flowing. The first thing I want you to do is to take some time to do a self-audit. I want you to think about your life and just really like kind of go do a little flashback real quick and think about how the quality of your life has been over the last couple of years. And what I mean by this is ask yourself, was I fulfilled? How did I feel? Was I moving in a way that was productive? Did I have moments where I just was like stagnant and stuck and couldn't like get out of my rut? Evaluate how you've been in that world perspective so you can see it in real life, like what it looks like and what really came of it, what the results of that perspective was. And then I want you to really just give the kingdom perspective a try. I know it's hard to release what you've always done because it's uncomfortable to do change or deal with change. It's very uncomfortable because you have to give up a lot of things that you've grown accustomed to. You have to give up things that you actually like doing. But unfortunately, some of the things that we do or some of the things that we're attached to are no longer in alignment with where God is taking you, nor is it in alignment with where you're going. So it's almost like you have to make a decision based off of what type of quality of life that you want and like who you're trying to be. Who are you pleasing? Who is it about? What is it about? You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be a level of surrenderance that has to happen before you can even see the fruits of the different perspective. So sometimes traveling backwards first is helpful because it gives you a real clear picture of how you've been operating and what the results of that was. So this week, I really want to encourage you to just take a moment, think about the past, I'll say 5 years of your life. I want you to write down how you've been operating. Have you been productive? Have you been in a space where you've been able to create? Or have you been having moments where you're just stagnant or not clear, foggy brain? You know what I'm saying? Like, What has your quality of life been like? What have you been experiencing for the past 5 years? And I want you to write it down so you can have a very clear picture of who you were. Because once you shift to a kingdom perspective, you're going to be changed. God's going to change the way you think. He's going to change the way you act. He's going to change the way that you move. But you have to surrender to Him in the process. And you got to let go of what you think it's going to look like. It's not going to look anything like you think it's going to look like. I'll tell you that right now. It's not. It's not going to look like anything that we think it's going to look like. And you're going to look up one day and be like, dang, I can't believe I'm a whole different person now. But you got to be open to the process, and you got to really just let it happen. You know what I'm saying? And do the work. Do the work. As far as acceptance, I think that once you get a clear picture of how you were or what you've been dealing with, and you get a small taste of how it can be on the other side, it'll be a little bit easier to accept, the shifts and the changes. But right now I know it's kind of fresh, so it's going to be tough to do it. But once you do that leg work and you just give it a little bit of time to, to permeate a little bit, you're going to see the difference, and then you'll have another opportunity to make decisions. You can either choose to go back to the life that you had, or you can choose to continue to pursue kingdom perspective, kingdom lifestyle, and God. And so in this moment, all I'm asking you to do is just give yourself an opportunity to experience the kingdom perspective. Give yourself an opportunity to be led by God and the Holy Spirit. And I promise you, it's going to be light years different than what you've ever experienced. But you have to surrender to the process and actually let the Holy Spirit lead you. You cannot allow yourself to have one foot in and one foot out, because if you do that, you're not going to fully be transformed, because you're continuously keeping your hands in the other spaces that you used to be in when God is trying to pull you out of it. So making that decision is vital, because once you make the decision of which way you're going to go, it once you make the decision about which way you're going to go, it makes it so much easier to comply and to commit to the process, because you understand your rules of engagement. And on top of that, you're clear on the pathway, and you look at that, you don't look back. So I know some of y'all may not have made a decision yet, but I'm just going to urge you again, look at where you are, make a decision on if you're going to choose the world perspective or the kingdom perspective. Once you choose that route, get clear on the guidelines for that route. Take some time to really tell God you surrender, help, ask Him for help to surrender to the process. Pray, ask for God to help you to surrender to the process and accept the journey, accept what it looks like, and then just keep going. Because at the end of the day, you've been living for multiple years. So you built up this lifestyle, you built up, different things, different habits that you have to break. And it's going to take time to break those habits. So you got to be patient with yourself as well. You got to be extremely patient with yourself. But the biggest thing is making a decision and staying the course long enough so that you can see transformation. So this week, I pray that you would really just give God a chance. He sent Jesus down here to die for you so that you can have an opportunity to choose. And I think that the least that we can do is let Him in and let Him show us the life that He always wanted us to live. All right, y'all. Until next time, stay focused, trust God, and respect the process. I'm Coach K, and I will see y'all next week. All right, bye.